I cheated on my wife last night. I don't know what to do. Obviously, I need to tell her, but I still haven't been able to get my head around it. One of my coworkers were leaving, so we all went out for drinks and then to a club. My wife's not a drinking or clubbing type, so she stayed home but was fine with me going. I was drunk. I know I was drunk. My head is still pounding. I remember being at the bar, then at the club, then waking up with a woman I didn't know on top of me in a house I didn't know. She said something like, "Oh shit, I thought you were asleep," and got off of me. I got my clothes and quickly got the hell out of there. I walked for however long until I got a taxi and I got home at like 6 a.m. My wife works early shifts, so she started work at 5 a.m. and I haven't seen her. I don't know who the woman was. I haven't spoken to my coworkers. I don't even remember getting there. I don't remember leaving the club with her. I love my wife. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Even drunk, I don't know how I could have even had it in my subconscious to cheat on her. I don't even think I was that drunk. Like I'd only had 3 or 4 beers before going to the club and I usually have a pretty high tolerance. I cheated on my wife and I don't even remember. I don't know what to do now. I haven't gotten out of bed since getting home except to throw up, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to look my wife in the eye when she gets home in a couple of hours. I feel so sick.
Am I the asshole for not spending this Christmas in the hospital with my daughter? 39 female, daughter 16 female, has a sensitive stomach and throws up from certain foods. The only advice we've got from doctors is to cut out these foods. Things like soda, chips, Cheetos, and other similar processed snacks. And of course my daughter loves these snacks and eats them anyways, leading to a lot of time in the hospital. Of course, when she was younger, I simply wouldn't buy these foods, but now that she's older, I can't really control it. And this leads to her going out with friends, getting KFC, and ending up in the ER crying and shaking. And of course, this happened on Christmas Eve as well, when the whole family gathered to our place. And of course, among the dishes were her trigger foods. Am I the asshole for not spending this Christmas in the hospital with my daughter? Now, mind you, these were far from the only foods available to her. We had a variety of home-cooked traditional dishes on the table with ingredients that don't upset her stomach. But of course my daughter decided to eat her trigger foods. When I reminded her of what would happen, she said Christmas is only once a year and she wants to live a little. This ended with her violently throwing up in the ER a few hours later. She was hospitalized for a few days, and unlike the other times, I chose to spend my Christmas relaxing at home with the family. I did text and call, but I said I wasn't coming, and now her and the family are thinking I'm a little cruel.
I left my boyfriend after he tried to propose. I, female 20, and my boyfriend, male 27, have been together for about a year and 3 months. From the beginning, he has always talked about marriage and kids. I want kids and that stuff too, but definitely later in life. We would often be lying in bed and he would just say, "I can't wait to do this when we're married." Personally, I don't really get it. Like, what's going to change from now when we're dating to when we're married? Our relationship will still be the same one we started with. He often would just ask me casually to marry him, and I would always just answer something along the lines of, "Someday." He's asked me about every month for about a year, and I always answer the same. I'm very busy and I travel for an intern job for work, so I don't really see myself settling down within the next few years. For those of you thinking that I'm leading him on, I am very open with these plans. I told him that I don't even want to get engaged until I'm at least 25 and want kids late 20s to early 30s. That's just a personal boundary and preference. Whenever I would answer seriously, he would always shut down, get quiet, and look upset. If you're wondering about our age gap, I know. We met at a work party when I was 18. We're in the same field and have the same close group of friends. He never gave me creepy or ill intentions, and the only issue we seem to have is marriage and kids. The last time he casually asked, we were on the beach about a month ago, and once again I just said, "I'm not ready right now." Fast forward to 2 days ago, he proposed to me for real. He took me to the mountain with a waterfall and actually got down on one knee with a ring. I didn't even look at the ring before I said no. It was like a reflex. I started walking away and crying out of shock. I knew this was the end for us. I couldn't see myself getting back together with someone who just doesn't listen to me. He started crying and begging, blah blah blah. I told him that I needed time. I flew home to my family and told him what happened. Turns out he told my family and they said that he shouldn't do it. He ignored them, never told them he was going through with it, and didn't bother to invite them to the party that he had planned after. Later found out his whole family was there. Honestly, feel great. I texted him that we're done and that the line was crossed. Unfortunately, I have to see him at work, but I don't even feel an ounce of sadness. More like relief, and I'm not totally sure why. But I'm just wondering, did I do the right thing by saying no? My wife and I are expecting a child in October. We are nearly in our 30s and have been trying for a child for some time. I won't go into details, but it's been difficult. In February, we discovered that she was pregnant. Obviously, we were over the moon with joy. We began to prepare. We did everything you could possibly do to get ready. We planned a baby shower and sent out invitations. We prepared a beautiful room with custom-made crib by my father-in-law, who is a very talented woodworker, and we were extremely thorough in baby-proofing our home. During the baby-proofing, my wife started to suggest that we get rid of my cat, Bubba, who is 12 years old and I've had since he was a kitten. I got him in college. I adopted him, and each of my 2 sisters adopted another kitten from the same litter. Bubba is extremely affectionate to me. So sweet and cuddly. He tolerates my wife, but is not affectionate towards her. To strangers, he's not nice. He has never bitten or scratched anyone, but he does a lot of hissing and yelling at people he is unfamiliar with. My wife was afraid that he'd scare the baby. He wouldn't be welcoming to the newborn, or that he'd hurt her. I argued gently, but eventually agreed. In her 28th week of pregnancy, we sent him to live with my parents. He was not happy there. My parents said he cried all day and walked around meowing 24 hours a day, looking for me. Tragically, my wife and I lost our child just weeks before she was due. We still don't have a lot of answers, and it's painful to get into. We mourned. We were inconsolable for weeks. I still can't think about it without feeling complete agony and loss. After a month, we returned to some level of normalcy, as normal as things could be. As normal as things could be anyway. We started to explore adoption. Last week, I told my wife that I was going to go pick up Bubba and bring him back home. She exploded. She said that under no circumstances would she allow him back in our house and that I had agreed to have him live with my parents. I missed him. He's been my best friend for years. He's been my loyal companion my entire life. She told me that I could pretty much choose between her or Bubba. I told her that I obviously would choose her. It's not even a question. But that I didn't understand her reasoning and I felt like she was being cruel. She had lived with him for 10 years and there had never been any problem. The adoption process can take anywhere from 8 to 12 months on average and I'd like to spend that time having Bubba around. We haven't spoken about it since. This is the first fight we've had. Am I in the wrong for wanting to bring my cat back into my house after my wife's late stillbirth?
Am I wrong for singing a song to my wife at our wedding and making her angry? I just got married last week. My wife and I are both in our 30s. I am Mexican, she's American, but we both grew up in the US and both of our families know both languages. My wife planned every bit of the wedding and was very controlling and a nervous bride. But alright, I get that she was stressed. During the reception, I went to the band and asked them to play a song for me to sing to my new wife. It was Te Amare by Miguel Bosé. It was a song from our first date in a really bad Mexican restaurant, so it became a long-standing joke between us. The guest really loved the song. My mother-in-law cried and told me it was beautiful, but my bride seemed upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she said that I'm an asshole for taking the spotlight to enforce my ethnicity and not just let the band sing our song for us. So, am I the asshole? Ridiculous, right? Which bride would be mad at her groom for singing her a song like that? This story was actually taken directly from my Reddit recap as the one submission I kept coming back to this year. Reddit recap includes a summary of the time you spent on Reddit, the content you most engaged with, and the top communities you viewed or joined. Download the Reddit app today and check out your Reddit recap and let me know what post you kept coming back to so that I can share it.
Am I the asshole for telling my in-laws to stop calling me mama and trying to erase my identity? I have 2 kids, 2 female and 4 female. I hate how everyone thinks of me as just being a mommy now, and I don't get to be my own person. My husband doesn't face this and gets gifts from everyone that have to do with his hobbies. Me, on the other hand, I get a bunch of mommy shit. I get wine and matching outfits. And not like the cute matching pajama sets, I'm talking matching outfits with my toddlers. As though I think they're mini versions of myself or dolls. From the time I got to my in-laws, it was mama this and mama that. My sister-in-law said it at one point and I said, "You know my name is Carmen, right?" Am I the asshole for telling my in-laws to stop calling me mama? I said, "You're not going around calling my husband Papa." Sister-in-law just looked at me like I had 2 heads and said okay. But this continued all over Christmas and I ended up asking if they could just call me my name. But sister-in-law said, "You're such a good mama." But I said that's not all I am. I gestured to the things my husband got for Christmas and said, why does he get to be his own person? Mother-in-law apologized, but my sister-in-law started going after me. One said, "Are you okay? Do you need to talk to someone? You sound so angry." And the other asked if being a mom was beneath me. When we finally left, my husband asked why I kept it in for so long and I said I haven't. Am I the asshole for telling my wife she was so close to getting her dream job? I'm a 33-year-old man and my wife is 27. Since the start of our relationship, my wife has been very particular about how things get done, and tends to believe she knows the one true correct way for anything related to anything. She's admitted that she can be a control freak, and while this bothers me, it's never been a true deal breaker. Very often when I do anything, whether it's chores or even writing a presentation for work where I have a master's degree and she has no formal education, she'll do this condescending thing and say, "You were so close to getting it right." Really drawing out the "so." Am I the asshole for telling my wife she was so close to getting her dream job? I've told her it's condescending, but she insists that she's complimenting me. If I take a picture of her, it's "You were so close. Next time, angle the camera this way. Complete a project at work. You were so close. Next time, write this way." Anyway, my wife has been undergoing an intensive hiring process for a job in our city. She works in a highly niche field and was so ecstatic. The company narrowed it down to 2 people, her included, but decided to go with the other person. She came to me crying and I comforted her and said, "You were so close." She asked what I meant by that and I said she was close but just off a bit. She then went to her friends where she's currently sulking.
Am I wrong for not inviting my little brother to my wedding and not telling him until the day before? I, 26 female, just got married a couple of weeks ago in Norway. It was amazing. From the start, my fiance and I knew we wanted a child-free wedding, nobody under 21, as we both find children and tweens very annoying, but we provided childcare for the little kids. Here's a problem. I have two siblings much younger than me, my full sister who's 15 and my half-brother who's 14. My half-brother is the result of an affair my mom had while my dad was away for work, which caused their divorce. My fiance and I decided to make an exception for my sister because we are both close with her and she's a very mature 15-year-old. My mom had figured neither were invited and that they would stay at the hotel for the day, and she was fine with it since they were together. When we told her it was just my brother not invited, she was pissed and sad. He can't stay here alone. I said he could stay with the kids, all under 10 unfortunately. She told us we could do whatever, but we had to tell him the news. We decided not to tell him until the day before to avoid any major drama during the weeks leading up to it. When we told him, he threw a fit. I said this is why he wasn't invited and left. The wedding day went amazing. When I got back from my honeymoon, I was met with angry texts and voicemails from my mom's family. Half of them didn't even go. Apparently, my mom spilled the beans to my aunt and she told everybody. So, am I the asshole?